Good morning. Good morning, my naughty nymphs and my perverted pimps and everyone else not sitting on a pillow. Hey, good morning. I think it's I need to look at what is actually today. It is it's the 13th of March on Friday. It's Friday the 13th. Okay, that's easy. It's Friday the 13th. And yesterday, on Thursday at 7 p.m. or about between 6 and 7, but our meeting at my post, 5617, was at 7 p.m. I went there a little bit early so that I could be prepared for a meeting. And that morning, I went and talked to the editor of the Bomber News so that we can get our, contract or connection, we had a really good connection with the Bomber News. There's actually three newspapers. It's the corporation or the company that owns the Bomber News, also owns the River Oaks Gazette, I think, the River Oaks News, I can't remember, and the Pembroke Gazette or News or whatever. So three papers. So the individual who owns it, who is also an Army guy, he has editors, for all three locations, I would assume, or just one editor that does all three. She's amazing. But I had a long, good conversation with her and one of the other individuals. I guess it was one of her newspaper people or something like that morning, and trying to get a good connection again back like it used to be with Post, which is literally on two sides of the street, maybe a block apart as far as the businesses are concerned. They're really close to our post, and we used to have a really good connection where we would do a, let's say, $50 some odd a month for 6 months little deal where we did a little, give me a second, my brain, so just give me a second. We'd do a little advertising. We'd do one single, be like $50, $54, $55, and do that for a 6-month program. So we're looking at what, $275 roughly for 6 months. And they would come over, and every time there was an event, every time something was happening, something special, every time blah, 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 et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, they would come do an op-ed. In other words, they would send one of the, I'm bad with words. That's the part of my neurons that are the worst as far as my broken neurons. But they would have a newspaper person come over and do a story about whatever event it was. It was a great connection. For some reason, that ended. I don't know if it was our elite, our officers that had an issue with it. I don't know, but when I had the conversation with her yesterday morning, the editor, they didn't have an issue at all. And so all the information that I was received before I had this conversation could have either been false or I'm not exactly sure. Certain officers from our VFW Post 5617 might have provided me with the incorrect information. I don't know, because that evening when we had our meeting, for some unknown reason, I know exactly what the reason is, but my commander and a few other officers apparently had an issue with me And even though they listed me as Ernie Mondragon, our commander, listed me as the post jester for a special little thing for me on my birthday for turning 50 years old this year on March 7th. And, wanting me to be the karaoke jockey. And I said, well, put my name up there as the jester, and I will be the karaoke jockey every Friday inside the canteen for 1 month, because I don't really want my name on the board. I've only had my name on the board one time, and it was for a month, and I was the post historian, and I wrote a 200-word op-ed that was sent over to the Bomber News, to the editor. It was actually 400 word, but she asked me to reduce it to 200, and it was posted 3 years ago in the local Bomber News, the Benbrook News, and the River Oaks News. Now, I don't know if that's the exact total real name of them, but I know it starts with each of the first words I said. But I had apparently upset Arnie Mondragon's PTS level a little bit, and he decided to not only rip my name off, he banned me from the canteen for a year. And it wasn't until I had my motorcycle accident where my brain bled, and they put me in an induced coma and for a week and a half, and I got out. My eyeballs bounced left and right for over 6 months, that he allowed me to come back to the canteen and to the meetings. I don't know if he banned me from the meetings at that time, but he banned me from the canteen, which is, for a whole year. And he's done that before. He's banned me for a month one time. His level of PTSD is very high, and he screamed. One time we had a district meeting down in Alvarado, and I'm inside the canteen, and I'm sitting there having good conversations with people because it's a district meeting, a district meeting, and there was a whole bunch of people that I knew, that knew me, that I was looking at, and I'm sitting at the bar at the canteen, and he comes in and he yells and screams and berates and belittles me in front of everybody that's in that canteen. And, I understand his PTSD. I understand his level of PTSD. I was counseling, and I tried to counsel him, and I just sat there and let it happen. And after the meeting, I stayed, hung out. And of course, when he did that, the entire canteen was filled with members of people that are at all other posts. But that evening, I got back to my post, and he was there, and I had a nice conversation with him, telling him that, you shouldn't do that sort of thing. I understand your level of PTSD is very high, but there's no excuse for screaming and yelling and belittling and berating anybody else, because you're the commander. And if you're the commander of a post, you should be above and beyond and should not do that. He used to be the president, I guess you'd say, of the Army Warriors and a bike club. And I can understand. I've known a lot of bike clubs, and I know how they act and how they react and how they talk to each other sometimes. And I had to inform him that we are not a biker club. We are the veterans of foreign wars. You have to hold honor, honesty, and integrity above and beyond reproach. And you can't sit there and allow your PTSD to amp you up for no reason whatsoever, and to a point in which you scream and belittle and berate another individual of any kind from anywhere in front of everybody else in the VFW. And he didn't. I fully expected an apology. Not one. And, shortly my birthday came, and of course apparently, as I was trying to attempt to help him with his level of PTSD, and I was trying to educate him on the fact that this is not the proper way to act or react, I decided to change my scheme, and I decided to show him personally, not in front of anybody else, but I tried to show him this is the inappropriate way to act with your level of PTSD. So every time I had a personal, individual conversation, texting, and other reactions, and et cetera, I was very specific on how I talked, what I said, how I said it, what I wrote, how I wrote it, and et cetera. And what my attempt was to let him know that this is not the level of someone who is in a position of leadership, and they shouldn't act like this, to do it in a personal one-on-one sort of situation. Then I got to the point where, oh my goodness, well, I'm going to have to do I'm going to amp it up just a little bit more. And I did some videos. I did some videos on YouTube and put them on my Facebook, and I was very specific on how I did them. I was very specific on how I said them, because I'm very good at what I do. And they're done specifically to not only inform, but to provide information and to help a very specific individual on the proper way in which to act and react in situations. And apparently, no matter how much I've tried over the last 4 or 5 years, I'm thinking it was 4 years ago when we went to the Alvarado district meeting. It might have been 3, 4. Because of my traumatic brain injury, trying to keep track of records like that is a little difficult. But I'm trying to think. Well, regardless, I've had some other issues with other members, and of course, y'all may remember. If you don't, I had a issue with a bartender and the quartermaster, where the bartender said that the Constitution has no bearing inside that canteen, our post. And the other incident was on the same video. I also did I was a veteran in need. I wanted to sit down and relax and have a drink, but all I had was dimes and nickels. And I had a bag of $10 worth of dimes. I had 4 of those, and I had a bag of $10 worth of nickels. So I had $50, but 4 bags of dimes, 1 bag of nickels. I went there, and the same bartender who told me the day before that the Constitution has no bearing within the confines of the VFW Post 5617 or the canteen, and she didn't say those exact wording, but she did say the Constitution has no bearing on this canteen or post. One of the either one, it doesn't matter. She said, well, we don't have, I don't know if we're going to take those. Why don't we ask the quartermaster? I said, okay. The quartermaster was sitting right there at the canteen at the bar, and he told me, we don't want your dimes or nickels. I said, okay, and I left, and I did a video of talking about how much and amazing the post of the VFW Post 5617 is. I did a video of the outside, showed some stuff on the outside, and all I did was talk about those 2 incidents, of the incident with the bartender and the incident with the quartermaster inside the canteen. Nothing from, that we keep a secret of in the meetings, etc. Just things that were in the open to the public, and I used my First Amendment right to freedom of speech, and apparently it pissed off the commander, because the bartender was the commander's wife, and it pissed off some other members, trustee, some other things, and they decided yesterday, when I went there for the meeting, to lock the doors to the canteen and call the White Settlement Police Department to come and arrest me. Now, thankfully, all I got was a warning, and I was told not to step on the premises for a year. So I'm a veteran of need. I joined the VFW 5 years ago. Apparently, the individuals that are in the officer program of the VFW at Post 5617's got some issues with me, and I am absolutely not allowed. They want to bar me from the VFW altogether. They want to. I had talked to one of them, and they want to remove me from the VFW, like on the big scale, like never, ever, ever be able to be a member of any Veterans of Foreign Wars. You know what? So be it. So be it. Do what you want to do. You know, I've got some really good friends who have been district managers or district commanders. One of them was a 11 Bravo Army, went to, just like me, went to Korea. He went to Seoul, though. I went to, Camp Boniface up near the Umjimgak River. But regardless, I know a lot of people, a lot of members of the Veterans of Foreign Wars at all different kinds of posts. So, I just wanted to let everybody know. All right, we're at 16 minutes and blah, blah, blah seconds. I truly do love each and every one of you. Do not worry about me. I'm good. I'm good. I'm as good as a bag of crispy, delicious potato chips. I am. It just makes me. It's disheveling to find that, someone, that says they're going to be the officer, is voted for, and it says they're the officer. And he's, Ernie Mondragon's been I'll tell y'all something real quick. I'm going to shut up and then we're going to end this, but I'm going to tell you something. The moment I met him, I think it was 4 years ago, might have been 5 years ago, when I joined the VFW, I asked him, I noticed his name. He became the commander. And I said, I went up and shook his hand. I said, your last name's Mondragon, isn't it? And he said, yeah. I said, I just want to let you know that I was a dragon gunner. You better be a good boy. And apparently he's Catholic, and there's a whole lot of other incidents due to his PTSD that I could, give y'all information for, but I don't think that's appropriate. But I've done nothing but give an absolute fuck about him, love his family, love the post, love all the other members. And every time something was done wrong, every time something was done inappropriate, I simply provided information, tried to re-educate specific individuals who their PTSD levels were amped up too high, especially when they get into a position of power. And, because power corrupts, absolute power corrupts absolutely. Y'all have heard me say that. And I apparently am not as successful as I'd like to be on helping individuals who are unwilling to help themselves. Because you got to help yourself. You got to fix yourself. You can't depend on somebody else to fix you. And it's not my job specifically to fix someone, but to provide them with the information necessary to let them understand that their levels are too amped up and high, that they need to do their own research and repair themselves so that they don't act in an unappropriate way again. I don't have a problem with that. That's me. Y'all know me. All right, we're at almost 19 minutes. All right, I do truly love each and every one of you, truly and deeply I do. Carpe diem. And as always, and as ever, catch you on the flip side. Arr.